Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Dale Hawthorne. I'd like to share with you 3 books plus one, which I wish I had read when I was in my teenage years. I came across them when I was in my 60s, and the last one will be a book and a movie. I've seen the movie, but I haven't read the book yet, and I'd encourage you to make these available. Just simply make some kids who might be at that age aware of these books. They will make a profound difference in someone's life. They're easily reachable by someone who's curious, a reader, someone who's, I'd say, 7th, 8th grade, and an advanced reader by the 5th grader. So might find these um, books which are understandable. So 3 plus 1. Please watch the end of the video. You'll get the 3 plus 1 and the plus one there. So first one, Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass by Frederick Douglass himself. I hadn't been aware too much, apart from what I knew about Uncle Tom's Cabin, of the personal experience of the slaves and what was done for the abolition and through the Civil War. Frederick Douglass was there. He was a friend of Abraham Lincoln, and he was also a Christian who managed to forgive the masters who had abused him. And you'll also find within this book a tremendous portrait of what happens when someone thinks that they have power over another person to amend their life, to force them into their mold. The abuse of power, what happened to him as a young boy. And you'll see the abuse that happened then. The portrait of the abuser is right there. And it doesn't have to be in the position of legal slavery like it was back then. So, first one, Narrative of the Life of Frederick Douglass. It's very interesting, very, uh, it'll tug at your heartstrings, and also get to see how he, as he came to know Christ, dealt with his past as a slave. So, first one. Second one, somewhat similar. Booker T. Washington, Up from Slavery, his autobiography. And he does talk about his experience as a slave and about his experience at abolition. He was a young boy when abolition came, and about also working to improve the lot of the freed slaves after the Emancipation Proclamation, especially the end of the Civil War, the war between the states in 1965 in the United States, how he and his family heard the news and what he did with Tuskegee and in other places to help to improve the lot of the slaves, the former slaves. They were slaves, but they're former slaves when he gets to be a young man and an adult. And just seeing how his emphasis on work and also education, and how so many people from the North, you'll find that in there, actually contributed to the education and uplifting the developing job skills of the freed slaves. And you'll also find in there his own Christian testimony and his own take on some of the people who tried to play the system, tried to scam, tried to pretend to be pastors because they thought it's a tremendous passage where they got hot in the sun while plowing. They said, well, I guess I must be called to the ministry. So we unified that and some of the weaning people away from any sort of laziness, slacking off, to diligence for themselves and their own families. So, second one, Up from Slavery from Booker T. Washington. Now to the third one. Third one, Richard Henry Dana, 2 years Before the Mast. I was aware of this book when I was a teenager, but somehow I never got to checking out a library with the other two as well. I was aware of the name. I thought the name was very interesting. But Richard Henry Dana talks about as a young man how he was kind of a slacker, and his family, which was usual then, and which has been actually fairly usual up until the past time post World War II, or even, I would say, even since the 1990s, where slackers from rich families were made to do work. Um, there's a parallel story that two sons of the Hunt family, the the oil millionaires in Texas were someone worked with them as they were being made to do manual labor to learn the business. So yeah, manual labor, 2 years before the mast, his time on a ship going around the Horn. You'll find some of his impressions of early California too, and some of the other what it meant to develop a work ethic, work diligently, and he became a part of the government official in the time of before the Civil War and Abraham Lincoln. So, encourage you to share this 2 years before the mast. And again, this is a real adventure book, like the first two, but it's real life adventure, real life example, and real life of someone who overcame his liabilities, his personal liabilities, to become a productive citizen and someone who, again, it comes back to he does have his Christian testimony in the book too as well. He's not overtly evangelistic, but you'll find that he does talk about his convictions in places in the book. So the first the three books I know that I've read now, that I've read in my 60s, which I wish I had read in my teenage years. Now for the last one, the plus one. Captain's Courageous. It's a book by Rudyard Kipling. This is fiction. It looks like it may have been inspired somewhat in some ways. It's kind of a parallel to 2 years before the mast. It's talking about a young boy who is picked up by a fishing trawler after he falls off. I believe it's a liner out at sea in the Atlantic, and he works along with Manuel, who's a Portuguese fisherman, and also the captain of that, and how you get to see the male rivalries with other fishing boats, and how they're good-natured, but they're also very, very, the rivalries there, and also simply learning how to work, be diligent, and the tremendous relationship he has with Manuel. I haven't read the book yet. I have seen the 1937 movie. It's one of my favorites. Spencer Tracy plays Manuel in that movie, and it's awesome. And I recommend the movie also for fathers and sons especially to watch together. It'll rebuke the father who puts all his attention into his business, but not into raising his own son. And it'll also rebuke the sons, the young men who are growing up without a moral compass, who don't see the consequences of cheating, of lying to other people, and what happens. Manuel plays a part of a father to the young boy in this movie, and he does do a lot of what the father wishes he had done. And the father actually does say that. So, but I'd encourage you to try this. So 3 plus 1. 3 I've read, 1 I haven't read yet, but I've seen the movie. And hope this has been helpful. Hope you find these to be books that you read, you enjoy, that they really inform you and entertain you, and they will tug at your heartstrings. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your attention.